Bonnie, who's sitting next to an empty chair.
Take your seats, please. If you're either a candidate, member. All right. Well, let's get started. Welcome, everyone, to this candidate debate forum. I hope you can hear me okay. My name is Josh Kurtz, and I'm the editor of Maryland Matters, which is a website that covers Maryland government and politics. It's a relatively new website. Shameless plug, please check us out. We're at marylandmatters.org. We're a nonprofit. It's free to read. We're growing and improving, and so I'm really excited to be here. I'm going to embarrass her. One of my associates in this project is someone a lot of you may know, Angela Breck, who used to be the editor of the Maryland Independent. So anyway, as you all know, this is a topic, this forum is really dedicated to how and where the county grows and how growth impacts residents' quality of life. We have candidates for commissioner president and all 4 districts here. Obviously, it's a little unruly, but we're going to do the best we can. The candidates have all been, basically we're going to ask candidates, I guess it's 4 questions, and the candidates have all been asked the questions in advance. There is one exception. We were not expecting Brian Klaas here, who's running for commission president. So unfortunately, he did not get the questions in advance, but he's sitting with the other 2 candidates who are, I guess, for commission president. And so just, we're going to run through we're going to let the candidates all introduce themselves. We'll ask them their questions. There's a timekeeper there. He's got signs keeping you apprised of how much time. If you talk too much longer, he's going to ring a bell. You don't want that, believe me. We're also going to take questions from the audience. If you're interested in submitting a question, you should see Kim Brandt, who's back there, who's with the group 1,000 Friends of Maryland. And 1,000 Friends is part of the Smarter Growth Alliance for Charles County. So she's got index cards for you to fill out if you've got questions. And we have a panel of experts here sorting through the questions to make sure they're not repetitive and all that stuff. The one thing we would like to ask, if you're going to ask the question, is specify, you can either ask it of everyone, you can specify candidates for office, for a specific office. We prefer that you not ask a question of a specific candidate, or at least if you do, we may give the other candidates in that race an opportunity to respond. So I think it's going to be a little unruly, but I hope we'll all have some fun and we'll learn something. And unless there's anything else I need to say, Kim, let's just start. We'll mix up the order a bit, but at least for the introductions, let's just start with Commissioner Collins and move on down the line. And you each have a minute for these opening statements. And the question really is, why are you running for this office? So please begin.
I'd like to start by saying good evening to everyone. My name is Reuben Collins. I'm running for Commissioner President.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Remote mic. Sorry, didn't think of that.
Did everyone hear me? Good evening, everyone. My name is Reuben Collins. I'm running for Commissioner President. I'm a former 2-term commissioner representing District 3. I'm running because I want to see, and I believe that I can assure that the quality of life for all of our residents will be improved. I've been a lifelong resident of Charles County. I've raised my family here. I was raised here. And I believe, based on my experience and knowledge of the county, I understand clearly the direction that the county needs to go. And that emphasis should be on infrastructure and job creation. Thank you.
Mr. Fox.
Good evening. My name is Brian Kloss, and I'm a Democrat running for Commissioner President here in Charles County. I am a lifelong resident of Charles County. And it's very similar to what the municipalities of La Plata and Indian Head have done in their last election. I believe that Charles County is in fact ready for a new direction. I plan on running a campaign that focuses on our quality of life, on enhancing our environment, protecting our environment, and providing opportunities for our children. I am a veteran, I am a father, I am a dad. I'm a small business owner. I want us all to be successful here in Charles County, and I look forward to answering your questions tonight.
President Murphy.
Thank you. Good evening. Welcome. This is a great turnout. I'm Peter Murphy, President of the Board of County Commissioners. Many of you know that I waited a while to decide whether to run or not. I was a bit hesitant. But you know, after a lot of thought, realized that we've made a lot of progress in this 3.5 years. And I want to make sure we don't go back. I don't want to go back to increase the property tax rates, which we had in the last administration 3 times. 1 time, raised your income tax rate, unfunded our teachers. We don't want to go back there. I also don't want to go ahead with others that are this unbridled, unsustainable growth. We cannot afford that, folks. So we are now in a place where we have not raised any property taxes in 3.5 years or 4, or your income tax rates, and we are getting a sustainable growth by good land use policies so that we can have a quality of life for everyone, including our children, so that we can reduce the overcapacity in our schools, for all other individuals in terms of our transportation. Is that it? Thank you very much. I'm sorry. You can do a little bit louder than that.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Dr. Richard Cook. I'm not from Charles County. I'm a native Marylander. I'm from Annapolis, Maryland. I moved here in 2005, fell in love with it, and I've been here ever since. I have a lot to say, so I wrote it down to get it in minutes' time. I'm running for office because I care about the well-being of our planet and the future generations that have to live here. This requires vision, but the vision is already there. It's called science. As Neil deGrasse Tyson said, famous astrophysicist, I want to live in a world where truth shapes politics, not politics shaping the truth. I'm running for office because a century from now, I want historians and our great-great-grandchildren to say Charles County got it right. It's simple. Help fill the promise that 195 nations made at the Paris Climate Accord in 2015. Lastly, I'd like to also say that I do not take any money from anyone, campaign funds, tax, from developers, wealthy, private, public organizations, associations, unions, or any persons. What does this mean? It means I'm only beholden to the people, not to special interests.
Thank you. My name is Leah Messick. I'm honored to be running for commissioner. I love this county. I grew up here. I started my business here. I even founded a nonprofit here. I kind of hit the limit of what I can do in the nonprofit sector, so I asked myself, what more can I do to help our county grow? And the answer was clear. I needed to step up. If I want to make an impact for the future of our county and make sure that we grow smartly, no more sprawl development, I needed to run.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Matt Nolan Wills, and I'm a candidate for Charles County Commissioner District 1. I'm running to return fair and sensible leadership to our county, and that begins with treating everyone with respect, listening to both sides of issues, and making balanced and even-handed decisions based on what's best for the county overall. I'm running to increase the quality of life and the economic viability of our county. Thus, I will work to help decrease poverty and homelessness, increase affordable daycare, and to support programs for our seniors, youth, veterans, and mentally challenged citizens. I will work to help educate our children by funding the school budget to the extent feasible, but I will also encourage the Board of Education to establish a Citizens Advisory Committee. We also need to plan for the future needs of the Sheriff's Department in order to keep our community safe. I'm running to make our county much more business friendly while protecting our environment, to bring in good companies with good jobs, to increase the revenue from the commercial tax base to help pay for teachers and other salaries. I'm running to bring much needed reforms to county government and to repeal the watershed conservation amendments.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for this kind invitation here this afternoon. My name is Ulysses Davis, and I am a Democrat from the womb to the tomb. And I want to set the record straight. I know there was something said about all the District 2 candidates who was against the watershed conservation district. That is not true. No one speaks for Ulysses but Ulysses. I am for the watershed conservation district. And I am running simply to the fact that public safety is first, and public safety first and foremost. I got 30 seconds. Thank you so much.
Good evening. My name is Jason Henry. I'm a candidate for District 2 Commissioner. I'm running to bring transparency, accountability, as well as leadership to the government. Unfortunately, some things has happened which question some of the things that have went on. It's unfortunate, but I am running to bring accountability back to government. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Charles McClam. I'm a 30-year veteran. I retired about 3 years ago and moved to Charles County 15 years ago with both my daughters. And I came to the county because it's a county where we can get out, fight, jog, and fish. There's a lot of amenities here in the county. I'm for the watershed. I'm for working to improve accountability, transparency, and more importantly, I'm for bringing about results that bring more economic growth to the county, that can improve the county tax base, so we can keep the property taxes low and not be raising the property taxes no time not in the near future. Thank you.
This is going to be fast. My name is John Ashburn, and I'm the People's Candidate for District 3. I'm very excited about moving our county forward. Some of my priorities are better roads, safe streets, housing for rich and poor alike, getting the best schools in the state, and a focus on small business growth. Let me read you some names. Jose Ramon Bumbry, Brenda Jeanette Harrison Bumbry, Devon Purnell Matthews, Calvin and Candace Carnathan, Swanda Dunn, and an unnamed 23-year-old Waldorf man murdered across the road from the Charles County Sheriff's Office. These people either committed suicide or murdered since the beginning of this year. And that's why I say that the number one resource and the number one priority of my term will be the people of Charles County. And I promise to dedicate 50 hours a week as commissioner and serve the community as best as I can. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Amanda Stewart. I have the honor of serving as your county commissioner for District 3. I decided to run for re-election simply because I'm not done. The work is not done. In 3.5 years, we've done a lot of work, a lot of good work. We focused on making sure that we have financial decisions that have protected the money of the county. We have a AAA bond rating. We have an increased property taxes. We have increased income taxes. Important decisions for land use were made to make sure that we can make sure that our schools are not overcrowded. And also, another reason why I'm running is because I have the idea that we can improve our schools. Renovations, renovations, renovations to increase school capacity.
My name is Derek Terry, running for Charles County Commissioner District 3, and one reason why I'm running is because my lovely wife, as well as my child, and my son and my daughter gave me permission. The other thing is that I'm committed to being a commissioner that will bring about jobs, work with the school system, remain environmentally conscious, but at the same time bringing about civility, transparency, and fairness to the office. And to some degree, commissioners are right. They have been busy. They've been busy with broken promises of raising the sales tax, your property tax within the first year of office. They've allowed themselves to award a government contract and don't think it's a conflict of interest. They voted to spend $3.4 million in a secret meeting on an overpriced building. And they also voted in secret to pay legal fees to a former commissioner for something that was illegal to begin with. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Gregory Waring. I'm a longtime Charles County resident, proud La Plata High School graduate. I'm running because I seek smarter, balanced decisions for the issues that we really care about. It seems that for topics as today, we retreat to extreme positions, and compromise doesn't develop that way. Collaboration leads to solutions. I think the board needs more of that. I hope that I can be a bridge between different sides of the county, Waldorf, and the western side of the county. I think I can be a bridge between longtime county residents, such as myself, who had an identity of Charles County then, and young professionals that we have welcomed here as homeowners, who look around and want to see what direction is our county going in. So that's why I choose to run for district. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Diotha Renee Sweat, and I'm running for County Commissioner of District 4. I am a 24-year Navy veteran, and through those experiences, I have learned that having a solution-driven mind produces results, and that's how I live my life. I look for solutions to whatever the situation is. Whether we agree with the outcome, we're going to find a solution. I'm also about collaboration as well. When you have that type of spirit, you include everyone in the table. And I'm also a representative of the underserved. I would like to leave you with a number. We are number 3 in the state of Maryland with homeless tents here in Charles County. We have 600 plus students that are homeless here in Charles County. That is the reason why I'm running for office, because I want to be a voice to those people who do not have a voice. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, candidates. That was done pretty swiftly. Our first substantive question is we're giving each candidate 2 minutes to answer, and why don't we begin actually with the District 2 folks and Mr. Davis, and then we can move around through District 3 and 4 and back this way. We'll just kind of mix it up. So, Mr. Davis will begin. The question for all the candidates: how and where the county grows impacts the quality of schools, commute times, and property taxes. How can Charles County grow and protect residents' quality of life and the environment? So, Mr. Davis.
Okay. How we can grow? We have to grow smart. Smart growth is the way to go. We cannot continue the way they was doing things in the homeowners association that I bought in. If I took you there right now, I can take you to 40 mile, 9 round growth. We cannot do that. Okay. Now, how we can grow? We can do it through public safety. I believe at the table. I believe our sheriff department should have a seat at the table long before a plan come to fruition to start. Once they get the plan, the sheriff should be there for an approval. Not only the sheriff, the fire and rescue people. There are areas in my subdivision that the fire and rescue people couldn't get to it in an emergency. And some of those are still in the pipeline. And we have to bring that in. We have to control that kind of growth. Thank you.
Jason Henry, candidate for District 2. For growth, we need to have smart growth. We need to have a plan to grow the county. If we don't want to build houses, then we need to look at our commercial base. We need to retain the businesses that are already here, as well as attract businesses that provide county residents of being able to earn a livable wage. And that's key. Fast foods are fine, but families cannot live off of fast food salads, as well as retail salads. We need to invite and recruit businesses that will provide a livable wage. It's important that we do those things. We have to have smart growth. Like I said, we have to build communities that can sustain themselves so they do not have to travel all through the county. It's unfortunate that a lot of attention has been dedicated to Waldorf, but you leave Indian Head as the plywood capital of the county because everything is boarded up. It's a shame. It's a shame that Indian Head does not have a grocery store, does not have a bank, and so individuals have to go to Bryan's Road, La Plata, and Waldorf. So we need to figure out growth that allows every community the ability to be successful.
Charles McClam, Commissioner candidate for District 2. I believe that we can protect growth by establishing community advisory commissions within each district, whereas they would have input into the larger plan for the county in terms of growth and development. Also, believe that we can get our hands around the pollution and congestion that you see every day on 301, 228 by working with the state where it's appropriate to get additional funds, but also looking at ways to open HOV lanes, to create an HOV lane on 301, whereas that allows for free flow of traffic that carries multiple passengers in the car or buses. Additionally, one of the things coming out of the federal government as federal executive for 20 some odd years, there's an opportunity to work with the U.S. Office of Personnel Management, whereas we take transit subsidies and give it back to the government, provided they give employees an opportunity to telework from home. So you have less traffic on the road, you have reduced CO2 emissions going into the environment, and you have an opportunity to bring in additional businesses, working with leadership across the county, working with the Community Advisory Commission to help inform growth and development and prevent sprawl and crawl. That's what we should look at as an overall blueprint for the county to make sure that everyone's input is taken into account before we go and build more townhomes, more homes in Western Maryland, more homes on the eastern side of 301. We need to figure out a way to collaborate and work smarter together. Thank you.
John Ashburn, District 3 candidate. I haven't knocked on 1,000 doors, thousands and thousands of doors in this county. I heard a large number of African Americans express concerns about questionable building practices in this county. Historically, building in the state of Maryland, hazardous storage and manufacturing is built in minority and poor districts in the state. And many feel that the focus should be placed on cleaning up hazardous waste. No one's going to mention this to you, but there's a good example of the old and abandoned gas stations in this county that are polluting the water table in the aquifer. This is something that's not new, but it's an old concern that's not been completely addressed. And a lot of these gas stations are sitting there with no one to occupy them because they cannot get a permit because the ground is too dirty and it's polluting the water. And as your county commissioner, I will continue to reach out to you and spend many hours a month listening to what your concerns are. The concerns that will get addressed, I have dialogue, one-on-one with dialogue in the neighborhoods where you feel comfortable, give you time to express yourself. Not everybody at the town hall gets their questions picked or feels comfortable speaking in public. And I promise you that I will be available to you 50 hours a week plus. Thank you.
So when you talk about growth and how do we manage growth for Charles County, this is what we've done during this administration. One of the important things was passing the WCD. And I understand there's a lot of misinformation out there, but one thing we need to understand in the county, it's not about no growth. We are going to grow. And even St. Charles alone, you're looking at another 6,000 homes that's going to come just based on docket 9. But because of the hard work that we did with the new company, it's only 6,000 because before that, it was about 9,000 to 10,000. So we reduced the number of houses that's going to be built in St. Charles. So that's about controlled growth. We need to make sure that when we grow, we're focusing on the residential growth, but we're also focusing on the businesses. That is why we are strengthening, and we have strengthened, we will continue to strengthen our economic development department. When we came into office, it was almost non-existent. And so when you talk about bringing in commercial businesses, you need to have a program in place that will allow and to support those actions to occur. The areas in the WCD, this comp plan is 10 years. That area, it probably will change in another 10 years, or 20 years, or 30 years. It's not about no growth. It's about stopping sprawl development so we can make sure we can pay the bills that we make. Please understand, family legacy amendments were included in the comp plan. If you have land you want to give to your children or grandchildren, you can. But again, we talk about miscommunications or misinformation. There's a lot of people who believe that they can't give their property to their children, and that's just not true. Don't take my word for it. Read the documents yourself. Call the Planning and Growth Department, ask for a meeting, have them come out to you, and I'll come to your community meetings, and we can bring the documents, and so you can see for yourself. Thank you.
I'm Derek Terry. I want to make sure I stay within my 2 minutes. So protecting the environment and as well as the community is very important to our natural habitat, particularly our humans. And when we think about how are we going to do this as a community, 2 things come in mind. Yes, the land, but also business development. So regardless of how you spend it, you can have all the houses you want. If you don't have anything to generate the revenue, all our natural resources have to be protected and something has to pay for. And most likely that's either going to be out of our property taxes, income taxes, and our commercial base tax. What you want to really try to focus on is how do we find that balance. I live in District 3. I visit, parts of the county, but when I live in District 3, everything is concentrated in District 3. So when you want something, everything comes in District 3. So when we talk about the Economic Development Committee, those are things that could have been in place from day one. Because now you have all this residential community with nothing for people to do. And one of the things that we need to focus on is how do we build our business relationships to thus protect the environment, to bring about, a quality of life that everyone can be happy with. And, when I look at Charles County, we have 3 types of people. We have anti-growth, we have pro-growth, and we have smart growth. We all need to focus on smart growth, and anything that comes about when it comes to residential development, leave those decisions up to the residents and let them make the decision versus the government.
Greg Warren, District 3. We can protect our quality of life. We can increase our quality of life with balance. What we have now, if you look around, if you ask Waldorf residents, what we have now, it's not smart growth. Right now, we're shoehorning our residential development and most of our commercial development into Waldorf. And as a result, you have residents on other sides of the county. If you head to La Plata, Bryan's Road, trying to avoid Waldorf traffic, trying to run their errands in different routes. You have our neighbors to the north of Brandywine taking advantage of this by economic development policy right at our edge that's taking business opportunities away from Waldorf. So Waldorf needs relief. We need alternative development corridors. We need to be serious when the comp plan says, let's leverage our villages and our towns. Let's be serious about that. Let's provide some resources to Indian Head. Let's give those residents on the western side services, basics, right? And some amenities and entertainment options as well. The western side's not asking for more homes, right? They enjoy the small, quaint hometown feel. I have a lot of family in Indiana, right? I'll see my grandmother in Woodland Village tomorrow. But they need basic services. So we need to force our economic growth or provide more economic growth on that western side. Give Waldorf the relief it needs, but provide some opportunities that the western side deserves. Thank you.
Again, my name is Diota Sweat, and I'm running for Commissioner District 4. Let me talk about first the growth and the economic development. The environment. That's easily resolved with smart growth. If we do smart growth as smart growth philosophy is that we educate, we advocate, we facilitate what a community should look like, then we wouldn't have this conversation. But because we don't do that, we need to have it, right? So quality of life. We have serious quality of life issues because 40 to 50% of our people leave every morning around 5:30 to go into the district or into neighboring counties for employment. So I am a military person, so I deal with data. And so I did a little bit of research here. And so the University of Maryland Charles Regional Medical Center is owned by University of Maryland Medical System. This is a $3.5 billion business that's here in Charles County. Now, they're a not-for-profit organization, so they didn't come here to make money. They came here because Charles County has something that they were willing to come to bring business to. So this is a model that we need to sit down and talk with them and ask them, why did you choose Charles County to come to? $3.5 billion, and we're trying to figure out how to bring jobs into the county. We have a company that's, I'm going to say it again, $3.5 billion. That is a lot of jobs that we can have here in the county. I'm one of those 50% people that travel out of the county every day. And I have seen in my 10 years of living here, my commute has increased 45 to an hour. I would love to move back to Charles County. I have the skill sets here that would allow Charles County to grow. We are allowing all of our workforce experience to go to another county, to another state, into the district, instead of staying here and making us the best we can. Thank you.
Someone grab the mic and send it down to Commissioner Collins. Thanks. And while we do, I'll acknowledge Senator Middleton is in the back of the room. If there are other elected officials here, I apologize for not seeing you, but anyway, I'm sorry.
Establishing a true understanding of exactly what growth, smart growth means has probably been the biggest challenge that we face as a community. For years, we've grappled with this issue. Whether the county is moving too fast, whether or not the county is initiating smart growth. The question really lies in the people and the people's understanding of what actual growth means and what it represents. The Maryland Independent recently did an article describing the county as, along with Montgomery County, as two of the fastest growing counties in the state of Maryland. But when you look at the actual numbers, when you compare the two counties, those numbers equal approximately 87,000 people in Montgomery County and about 9,000 people in Charles County. Another thing that I thought was interesting in looking at that article was the fact, because too often we hear that our schools are overcrowded, but the article made reference to the fact that the actual number of students in our public schools has actually been flat. There's actually been no actual increase in the number of students in our public schools. What does all that represent? It's really a question for us to really look at what is really important for us as a community. I've been an advocate for increasing our commercial tax base. I don't think there's anybody on this panel that's arguing that we need to continue to bring more and more people in this community. We need to focus more on business development to create more opportunities to provide the resources necessary for public education and public safety.
Before I start about growth, one of the components of this question is about taxes. And I think we should set the record straight as it regards taxes here in Charles County. We have 2 current commissioners who have stated they have not raised taxes. One of the very first things done by this Board of County Commissioners is raise the county transfer tax on all real estate transactions. On average, that costs you about $1,500 for you buying or selling your house. In addition to that, go back and look at the Maryland Independent for the last 2 years and read the constant yield tax rate notice. And what it states is the commissioners are proposing to raise your taxes if they do not reduce your tax rate, which they did not do. By law, you are required to put that notice in when you raise taxes, and that's exactly what happened. When you look at the aspects of growth, you have to look at how does that affect our schools. As Commissioner Collins just said, our schools have been flat. One thing you may want to notice is that Lackey High School 7 years ago had 1,200 schools. Today, 1,200 students. Today, Lackey High School has 900 students, and that is one of the schools that was rezoned in the WCD because of an overcrowding in our schools. The WCD was implemented on the western side of Charles County in the place where we actually have school allocations. If you go one step further and you want to talk about quality of life, our traffic is absolutely the worst in the United States, as referenced by data from the Census Bureau. One thing we do not need is we do not need another residential development in Charles County. I will fight to keep residential development out of Charles County until we have comprehensive transportation plans to move our people from point A to point B and improve the quality of life for everyone here in Charles County.
Thank you very much. There are, based on the stuff that's said, it changes my presentation a little bit. We actually do have tremendous overcrowding in some of our schools. I'm going to give you some numbers, folks. Berry Elementary School, the state rated capacity for Berry Elementary is 658 children. Do you know how many children we have in that school? We have 967 children in that school. In Craig, state rated is 406. We have 522 children in that school. Matula, 554, state rated. We have 780 children in that school. In last year, we took in 300 more children. The year before that, 500. In the last 2 years of our administration, we've had 800 more children added to our school system. You can't tell me that sprawl development hasn't added to that. That is what causes our problem. And I'm pleased to hear about the residential growth. I'm telling you this. There are, people talk about no growth, slow growth. There are enough permits, projects in the pipeline to continue the growth pattern that we've had over the last decades for the next 10 to 15 years in this county, which we cannot stop. If we stop today and said we were not going to issue one more permit, we have that many that will continue to grow in this county. All we're doing here is trying to reduce the sprawl growth, and this all gets the quality of life, and we do and have looked out very much, not only for our children, but when we get into transportation, we put a roundabout, Billingsley and Middletown Road. We're building Western Parkway, and we just got $13 million from the state to improve Route 301 and Route 5, the bottleneck up there. No one has been able to do that in decades. We've got that done because we understand the issue of transportation. Thank you very much.
I'll talk a little bit about cause and effect, and we have proof of that. 2000, the population was 120,000. 2010, 140,000. Now it's about 150,000. There's no way that the schools can be flat with their population. There's just no way. So with that cause and effect, let's talk about a couple of things. And I'm sorry if I'm going to talk quick because I only have 2 minutes. Charles County and Beechy County do share the worst commute in the state and some of the worst commutes in the nation. We have the highest property tax per rate per $100 assessed in the state. Most portable classrooms per child. One of the worst drops in house values in the state in between 2007 and 2013. Third lowest in Maryland of land preserved in the state, and most forest cut per dwelling unit in the state. These statistics are in direct correlation to the unbridled growth and poorly planned development that has occurred here in the last approximately 20 years. It's made Charles County one of the fastest growing counties in the state in terms of percentage change. Subsequently, this has proven that it costs more and our residential taxes can bring in, to provide for the infrastructure of all this growth for such services such as schools, buses, et cetera, et cetera. So to protect the citizens' quality of life and our environment, we must curtail sprawl development. It's just a given. Guilford Run, Ashland's Discovery, to name a few. Keep Billings Road rural, and protect our waterways such as Mataluman Creek and Port Tobacco River. We've seen problems with Tech Park. We've seen problems with the Maryland airport area, and we need to do things like bring in more green buildings to develop in TOD neighborhoods, implement light rail, call for rural legacy areas and PDRs to help landowners with conservation easements. All of this will improve home values by reducing competition and promoting investment in priority funding areas. Thank you.
District 1, I own a business where I drive around the county all day. So I'm well aware of how many new houses there are, how hard our traffic is, how long it takes to get from La Plata to the other end of Waldorf. And for me, time is money. Lots of things that can be done, and it all lends to smarter growth. We need to make walkable neighborhoods. We need more transportation options. We need to preserve our open space, our critical environmental areas, and our farmland. Our county is beautiful, and there are many resources that we can use for economic development. We've got beaches, we've got hiking trails, we've got parks. Conservation and preservation is economic development. We need to use what we have and not continue with the sprawl development.
Well, she was going to go longer. Good evening, Matt Wills, candidate for Charles County Commissioner, District 1. Land use and planning is one of the most important responsibilities of the county commissioners. We all want to balance growth with our ability to pay for infrastructure in our schools. Now, we have to live with what is. Docket 90 is a fact, and I do appreciate that they were able to negotiate reducing the number of houses. See, I don't say everything you do is wrong, Peter. You know that you got to do something right. But of course, we want to balance our growth with our ability to pay. But because we are facing the problems that we see today, in large part because of Docket 90, that doesn't mean that we do just the opposite and be excessive in terms of stopping growth, such as with the WCD. Now, I like to look at this in terms of a commissioner who is thinking about the people. The key to any land use development is to come up with a balanced growth plan that can be embraced on a long-term basis by most stakeholders and is best overall for the county and not any one particular interest group. And it is paramount that the process undertaken to develop the plan is open, fair, and allows for due consideration of all interested parties. In other words, we must make major land use policy growth decisions as a community. And it is the community and not special interest groups that should have the ultimate say in how our county will balance protecting our environment and business growth development. Thank you.
All right. Let's start with Ms. Sweat this time, and we'll move around this way. Just a reminder, if you have questions for the candidates, Kim in the back will give you an index card. You can fill it out and get it to the folks here. So we have another question that the candidates have gotten in advance, and this is once again a 2-minute answer. Commissioner Stewart and some of the other candidates referred to the WCD, so we're going to explore that a little further here. The 2016 Comprehensive Plan seeks to rein in decades of unbridled growth through a variety of measures, including the WCD, the Watershed Conservation District. If elected, will you support continued implementation of the 2016 plan? Why or why not? Let's start with Ms. Sweat and move around this way.
Again, my name is Diana Sweat. I'm running for County Commissioner District 4. The question is will I support or not the entire comprehensive plan? There are portions of the comprehensive plan that I do support, and it is business growth, improved infrastructure, improved schools. Let's get our children out of these trailers and put them in the classrooms where they belong so that they can have a learning environment. Improved staffing for our public safety personnel, our sheriff's department as well. I do agree with that. I agree with that portion of the comprehensive plan. The one piece of the comprehensive plan that I would like to discuss and bring back to the table is the WCD. And one particular issue is it has to do with the land use. I learned the other day that there is a family legacy amendment to the WCD, but the whole purpose of smart growth is to educate the people that the WCD affects. And so if you talk to people within the county, they will not know what their rights are. And so it's the responsibility of the leadership to educate, to ensure that the people know that if you can get your land grandfathered, they need to know this. If they can still build an addition to an existing business that's in the WCD, they need to know these things, because what is going on right now is that people are stopping what they're doing because they are not educated on what this really means to them. So it is a responsibility that you educate, you advocate for those people that cannot fend for themselves. Make sure that if the WCD is something that we have to move forward in, then they need to know what the outcome is of that. And also, I was reading today, I'm a status person, Georgia had the same issue. And their board of commissioners, they came in and they bought those people's land. They didn't just go in and change the status of the land and bought it. Thank you.
Thank you. I mentioned in the previous question, I do support portions of the comprehensive plan that emphasize using the villages, using the towns as economic development centers, right? La Plata, Indian Head have their own zoning authority. They should be equal partners with the county board of commissioners in development decisions. The villages should be areas where we have infrastructure in place, where we can focus development. I do not support WCD in its current form. It's a progressive land use policy, but I think the effect will be that it's regressive to those landowners that own property. And if you know folks from that side, they don't have intentions of development. They're proud landowners. They have a lot of property to farm. They work on their tractor, right? This is land that's in the comp plan that says a lot of it's wet. You won't be able to develop it anyway. But you've now diminished that financial instrument they have, right? So what if they have some hard times? They need to refinance. They need to be able to pull something from that estate. You've hurt their ability to be able to take care of their families. So I find the policy in practice to be regressive. So, practically speaking, timing-wise, WCD in effect for almost a year, right? By the time the new board of commissioners, that's more time than has passed. It'll take some time to do a zoning amendment, right? It'll take some time to consider WCD modifications as a part of the next 10-year comp plan. That's the practical side of it. It won't be a light switch. We won't be able to correct this right away, but we do need to consider how we can amend WCD. Thank you.
Derek Terry, once again running for Commissioner District 3. When you look at the comp plan, what I believe is that in theory, it's a nice plan. The problem is that you have the current administration who kind of pick and chooses what's important, what's not important. When you look at business development in Charles County has declined. If you don't believe me, look around. It has declined. You created an economic development committee or advisory or whatever they call themselves. You have to look at why didn't you look at this from day one. Businesses have left. Their idea of business development is Krispy Kreme. That's not my idea of business development. When we talk about business development, we're looking at the chains of the world. We're looking at bringing in maybe meat manufacturing or poultry or something like that. We're looking at things that will stimulate the economy. I haven't seen it. And you're looking at somebody who grew up in the Baltimore metropolitan area. I know what it looks like. As far as schools, I agree. We need to continue to fund our schools. But we also need to be mindful that with everything that we give them, we need to make sure that we're looking at every dollar that is being spent and get that money back to the general fund versus giving them a savings account. The other thing is that when they talk about increasing the sheriffs as far as their budget, half-truths. What I mean by that is that you can't recycle vacancies and then call that an increase. That's what they've been doing. The sheriff has had to take his own money and do what and then basically give permission to spend money that's already there. And with the WCD, it's make it very quick. No, I do not support it in its current form. And the reason I say that is because the ultimate property rights belong to the owners, not to the government. And give them the opportunity to make a profit or make a living on what they want to do with their land. We should be telling anyone what to do with their land because the three that voted for it don't even live in the area that's affected.
Well, the question asked if I support the WCD. The document is a compromise document. In the current Board of Commissioners, we discussed it, we worked, we had public hearings, we had focus groups. And so, yes, I do support it because that is the document that got passed. What I want you to understand is, and it's like setting the record straight, if staff was here from the Planning and Development Department, they would tell you that they did, online, in person, in the community, meet with groups of people. One of the hard parts about government is that it's hard, it's difficult sometimes to get people to come out. And I know as a commissioner that it's our job to figure out ways that we can get the information to people. And so that's why even now, like with the budget cycle, we're going out in the community with the budget, making sure we're going to communities to get people to come out to listen to the upcoming budget. That's difficult. Now for someone who was raised here in the county, I do see changes, I do see improvements. For example, when you come into Waldorf, you'll see it's changed. Some buildings are gone. It's a huge project that's going to be coming. Now, economic development is not Krispy Kreme, but it is going to be a large parcel. The company that's bringing it is Greenberg & Gibbons. It's going to be something like Charles County has never seen before, and that's what we've been working towards. No, it doesn't happen just in 4 years. That is why I'm running for re-election. Understand that when we came in and we put the Economic Development Department together, and if you talk to them, meet with them, they will tell you all of the work that they have been doing. Go to their website so you can see how we understand that it's important to grow economically. And lastly, look at stores nationwide. Charles County is not special. Our stores are just not closing here. It's nationwide. Why? Because as consumers, I'm guilty. Almost every week, there's Amazon boxes at our house. We're changing our buying process. That has a lot to do with it.
John Ashburn, District 3 candidate. I'm not going to win any friends with this argument. I have an email here from the, typically not the kind of person to go point fingers, but unfortunately I have to. From the, one of the advocates for the watershed conservation district. Now, what they said in that email is the watershed conservation district enhances home values. Well, I'm still underwater in my house after 1 year. It slows the traffic growth. Is there anybody here that believes the traffic growth is slowed? We won't need any new taxes or fee increases. Well, unfortunately, if you own a business here and you sell cigarettes, they sent out a bill to increase the tax that you pay from $25 up to $100. So that is an increase. So it has been increased, and the fee for the dump was 75 cents, and now it's $2.25 to buy that little green tag. So they have increased. The projected the water shortage essentially disappears. That's what they said. Now, I don't know any environmentalist that is saying that the water shortage is essentially disappeared because we passed that bill. They also said that Charles County has the highest per capita use of classroom trailers, and we'll get rid of that. I haven't heard about a single trailer being yanked out. The funds saved can raise teachers' pay on par with nearby counties and renovate existing schools to modern standards. I don't believe that, and there's nobody in the teachers union believes that they're going to get paid on par with Calvert County in this business cycle. No one believes that. And I'm sorry to say that. But what I will say is that this question is going to be revisited in the next term, and I'm willing to have an open, truthful, and honest dialogue without naming, calling, and venom to move forward. This is what this county deserves, and I promise you that's what I'll do. Thank you.
Charles McClain, District 2. I support the comprehensive plan, but no plan's perfect. I'm open to relooking at the plan from a perspective of landowners' rights. That's a very fundamental, basic right for everyone in this room. Where there are opportunities to revise the plan, I'm open to that. I want to have a healthy, transparent conversation with everyone in this room and throughout the county, because everyone deserves that. If there are issues where folks feel that they've been slighted in the overall comprehensive plan from the watershed's perspective, we need to do something about that. We shouldn't allow it to fester, because this is your land, it's been passed down to you, or if you earn it, you have a right to do as you please with it, and not be forced to do what the county wants you to do because it's yours. From a comprehensive plan perspective, as where schools are concerned, infrastructure, I'm all for that. But when it comes down to someone stepping between me, you, and your land, I'm for erring on the side of the citizen, because you come first. There should be transparency, there should be integrity, and there should be collaboration in the plan that was developed that's going to cause concerns for U.S. citizens, and if it causes you concerns, we need to figure out a way going forward to work together to correct that. It's not going to be corrected by just pacifying folks and allowing things to continue to move forward. We need to come together in a forum across the county and figure out a go-forward plan, get our hands around it, so we do something about it today and allow you to keep your land and allow you to do as you see fit with your land down the road. Thank you.
Jason Henry, Commissioner candidate for District 2. The WCD plan, I oppose it because of the negative impact it has on property owners. I testified, I was one of the main opponents of the WCD because of what it does to property owners. My family has had property in District 2 for over 152 years. And I currently live on the property that my great-great-grandparents owned. And my family, my entire neighborhood is family. My father grew up in a house, and he built a house right beside the house that he grew up in. His aunt lived right behind him. His sister lives right next door. His grandmother lives next door. His mother lived across the street. And I was fortunate to grow up in an area where less than a quarter of a mile, my mother's side of the family lived. And so as family members grew up, they were given a parcel of land to build a house and raise a family. But when I brought up that issue, then all of a sudden the county commissioners come up with a family legacy plan. But it wasn't until I brought that issue up of how the WCD impacted the property owners. You're taking away property owners' rights. It determines the size of the house they can have and the things they can have on their property. And it's going to decrease your value, but you're going to have to apply to have your property reassessed because the county is not going to volunteer to reassess your property for you. So we need to revisit that, and we need to fix that, and I will love to repeal it if elected and replace it with a better plan, the original plan before members of the planning commissioner switched it and the commissioner switched it. Thank you.
I will not switch it. I would embrace it. For the fact that in Southampton Homeowners Association and Senator Mike Middleton, we had a movement. Last March, the 21st, one of our little babies on the way to school was hit by a hit-and-run driver simply because these developments is not being built correctly. If we had had the safety necessities of curbs and sidewalks, that little baby would not be lame today. Public safety is first and foremost, and the government has a responsibility. Because you purchased land, Brother Bolden, all the money you invested in that land, because you made that investment, there's a responsibility to the people that you will develop and have to move into these subdivisions. We need to revisit the bylaws, the governing documents from that point going forward before any more development, because it hurts the people that you sell that land to. If you elect me as the next commissioner, I would work with President Peter Murphy. I hope to work with Amanda Stewart, and we will continue the comprehensive plan to its fullest. Thank you.
If elected, or when elected, I will work to repeal the WCD amendments and seek to amend the 2016 comprehensive plan to remove any policy statements that the amendments were based on. I will also undertake a review of the 2016 comprehensive plan to address areas that are blatantly business unfriendly. And just a note, that comprehensive plan that the Board of Planning Commissioners presented was hijacked by the commissioners, and in effect, it was a brand new plan, so it did not go through all of the processes that some people have stated. The WCD, you know when something is wrong. When Senator Middleton says it's bad, Edith Patterson says it's bad, two of our state delegates say it's bad, the Charles County Democratic Central Committee says it's bad, the Republican Central Committee says it's bad, the Indian Head Mayor said it's bad, all the council members of Indian Head said it's bad. Guess what? There must be something wrong with it. There must be something wrong with it. And I can tell you what's wrong with it is that it was rammed through. It's not the people's plan. It's a special interest plan. And that's why we had all this stuff. So I'm in favor of people getting together and determining how they want to grow, not special interests. And if you did that, then you would reach a basic consensus on how we want to grow in the future. And you're less apt to get people who want to repeal everything that you've done, because you'll have a consensus. And that's what we don't have in that plan. And I don't think that the commissioners understand that. And by the way, I watched all of the recordings of the work sessions, and not once did I ever hear a commissioner say, how will this affect the people on the west side? They're discriminating against the people on the west side.
I completely support the 2016 comprehensive plan, including the watershed conservation district. We need to make sure that as we grow our county, we're doing it in a way that will protect things, the people. We need water. Do we not want water out there? We want to run out of water? And that's part of what this is. This isn't about grabbing land or stealing land. You can still have your family build on your land. Most of it was already zoned 10 acres in order to be able to build. That is absolutely true. It was true. It was true. I know absolutely in the Mulberry area that's what it was, because I was looking for a house so that I could build a kennel, and I didn't buy there because I didn't want to get land rent to get a special exception. And then I looked into it, and then I started going to these opposition meetings for the Watershed Conservation District, where I got to hear from many of the candidates here today who are basically using this as something to run on for an election. They're firing up the This is about keeping our county safe, looking at the future. You want businesses to come, then we have to stand up and say, we're looking at the future. We're gonna have everything that we need for you to come and bring your employees and bring more proper growth. Thank you.
Please, only when the last tree has died, the last river has been poisoned, and the last fish been caught, will we realize that we cannot eat money. So the WCD, I am definitely for. As a scientist and a physician, I care about people's well-being. One of the things that we need to really understand is that this is definitely about special interest, the special interest of the developers. There's no special interest in caring for your environment so you can have one for the future and for generations to come. So don't get it wrong. This is about developers versus the people. And they take their money, they take their money, they leave here, and they leave us with the bill. So I will continue to support the comprehensive plan, and I will also make sure we support the PDRs, the Maryland Agricultural Land Preservation Foundations, et cetera, in order to make easements for the citizens and to get PDRs done and so forth. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The question is, do you plan to support the WCD and the continued implementation of the 2016 plan? Of course I do. But I don't have, and there are three of us up here that two are presently in office, one that was. We don't have the luxury of being able to zero in on one issue for campaign rhetoric and for campaign. We have to make decisions broadly. So when you look at the WCD or our comprehensive plan, we have to consider our schools. We have to consider whether that's okay to keep them overcrowded. We have to consider transportation. We have to consider water. We have to consider economic development. You know, I talked about this the other day. The Matterhorn. People dismiss that. The fact of the matter is, and the Chamber of Commerce should be all over this, economic development should be all over this. Every time there's a bass tournament in this county, every weekend, they bring in over $1 million into this county. You know where that goes? It goes to our gas stations, it goes to our hotels, it goes to our restaurants, it goes to our convenience stores. We care about that. We're trying to help our small businesses. We should all be behind that. We have to consider all of those things, folks. And we have to do it in a way that does not put the burden of taxes on your back. Because sprawl development costs us more money than the services. So for every dollar that we have to spend, or that we get, it costs us about $1.25 in services for you. We can't afford that anymore. We've been very good about not raising your property. We have not raised your property tax rates in 4 years, despite what the newspaper article makes us print. And by the way, the state makes us print it that way. We're not allowed to alter it. It's misleading. But the fact of the matter is, we have not raised your property tax rates in 4 years. We've not raised your income tax rate in 4 years. And we don't intend to do that. Because we've done that by smart growth. Thank you.
I have adamantly opposed most of the elements within the Watershed Conservation District. A couple of facts for you. 41%, that's the number of people in Indian Head living at or below poverty. 58%, that's the number of people living at or below poverty in Potomac Heights. The western side of Charles County needs all the help it can get in regards to attracting businesses and economic development. The WCD is not hyperbole and not rhetoric. Our grocery store just announced that it's closing. Policies have impacts. We have the Maryland Airport, an asset that other communities would kill to have. And what do our commissioners say about supporting Maryland Airport? They downzone and remove all of the commercial and industrial uses, not only in the Watershed Conservation District, but around the Maryland Airport. We need business development. We don't need any more residential growth on the western side of Charles County. We need opportunities for our children. We are promoting the wrong type of assets that come into our county. Let me explain to you how that is. We have right now a company that is moving into Waldorf, Namo Energetics. They wanted to be in Indian Head, but they had no place to go. We knew this 2 years ago. So instead of helping the town of Indian Head prepare to bring Namo into Indian Head, what did we do? We did nothing at the county level. We are not ready to receive them. Other opportunities are passing us by. We won't miss those opportunities when we have a new board of county commissioners take office.
The 2016 comprehensive plan is really a continuation of policies that were really established on the state level during that period and during the O'Malley administration. And as a result of that, and I can tell you just based on my experience while I was in office at that time, the significance that the state requirements placed on local jurisdictions in terms of land policy. In my opinion, the WCD, although there are some virtues, clearly went beyond the scope of what was necessary in terms of ensuring that the property rights of all our residents were put in consideration at the time that that decision was made. And more importantly, in terms of my understanding of the present comprehensive plan, the whole idea of the Maryland Airport, more than anything else, was reduced in terms of its significance as an economic development generator. Now, we hear two sides. We hear on one side the present Board of Commissioners describing their, this administration's goals and what they accomplished in terms of economic development. But then when you look at the actual application of policy, which was directly related to the zoning established in the comprehensive plan, it makes it clear that there was no interest in actually ensuring that economic development was a top priority for this Board of Commissioners.
All right, thank you all. We have another question dealing a little bit with something a couple of folks have mentioned. This is a 1-minute question. Why don't we go start with Dr. Cook and move down that way and then around? So the question is, the failed Indian Head Technology Park and the privately owned Maryland Airport, which a couple of folks just mentioned, have been heavily subsidized by county taxpayers. With limited resources, to what extent should taxpayers subsidize private development? And this is, you all have 1 minute to answer this one. Good luck.
Okay, it seems to be the theme of this forum to just follow the money. That's really all you got to do, follow the money. Money will lead you to the person who's backing up your candidate. So I'd like to say 50% of all businesses fail within about 5 years. This is because simple supply and demand, customer service, so forth. You can't make a business succeed. They have to succeed with good service. However, with deregulation now occurring again at the federal level, we're also living in another boom-bust cycle, which is a very important factor. So research shows that incentives very much do not substantially influence the behavior of firms coming into counties, states, etc. So having vision means not making decisions based on attention-grabbing business incentives, only to have them fail at the cost of taxpayers and millions of dollars in jobs and so forth. Tech Park is one example. Super Walmart is another example. The Safeway that Brian just mentioned, another example. So if taxpayers do subsidize private development, done. One more thing, sorry.
money has gone into things like the tech park and the Maryland Airport. The Maryland Airport, for instance, came up with a plan in 1999, and it took them 13 years to start implementing the changes. 13 years. If it's taking a business 13 years to start doing something, why is our taxpayer money going into it? Why are we giving to businesses that are proving that they're going to bring some kind of money back into our county?
I think that where it is in the best overall interest of the county, fiscally prudent, and serves a public interest, public-private partnerships should be considered. For example, the Maryland Airport is an example. The state of Maryland and the federal government have put over $2 million investment in the Maryland Airport. But the county has done everything it can to stop that business. In their economic plan, they put it down as an economic generator. In their comprehensive plan, they wrap it into the WCD. That sends a message of uncertainty to investors. And that is not good for businesses in Charles County.
Once again, I do not have the money to fly on a private airplane owned by a private owner. So I totally oppose that. And no one in my subdivision of 550 homes that I know have that kind of money. No taxpayer money should be subsidizing somebody's private airport.
The question is misleading, but a private partnership, I don't see anything wrong with it if it benefits the community, and the county will turn the revenue from it. We all know that if the airport is successful, it will bring revenue into the county. And we are all naive if we don't believe that and understand that. So let's not play with words here. I think everyone in this room are, from what I can see, are adults and are educated. So let's not play games with the citizens. It's unfortunate that these games are played, and they're played with you at election year. It's unfortunate that questions are misleading.
Charles McClam, District 2. I support public-private partnerships where it's economically prudent. I believe that if the private business concern are about extracting benefits from the county should be equally as fiscally responsible about extracting benefits from the private partnership with whomever it is, whether it be tech park or airport. We need to extract some benefit. We don't need to invest taxpayers' dollars without some overall plan or some overall strategy that allows us to get a return. Return on investment, that's what it's all about. In the case of tech park, in the case of the airport, they got some stuff from the county taxpayers, and we didn't get a whole lot. In the case of Safeway, they got some tax incentives, and they moved into the county. We didn't get a whole lot. And in turn, we have organizations leaving the county. We have to figure out a better plan to keep business in the county.
Thank you. John Ashburn, Candidate District 3. I thought about this question quite a bit. And I've come to the conclusion that I personally am against bailing out millionaires with their property issues. Capitol Clubhouse, how many people here know the Capitol Clubhouse? That was a big bailout, and it sucked a lot of money out of this county. And it's an albatross around our necks right now. It bleeds money, we're losing money, we need to get rid of that. We need to think about getting rid of all these deadweight things in the county and move forward. I recommend that we take that airport and maybe make a water park. I think it'd get a lot of people into that airport from the NGN. That's what we can do. Thank you.
There's nothing wrong with private-public partnerships, but I wouldn't support one with being public with a sinking ship. One of the first things that I was astounded to see when I came into office that, and legally I can only say it's so much, but the previous boards had pretty much gave them a sweet deal. They're sinking. Business-wise, they're not doing well. And we would be irresponsible to use taxpayer money to bail them out. We can't do that. You really have to look at their business as a whole. The tech part, we all know what happened with that. It was backwards. You don't sell low and then buy it back high. You lose money. And so that was just a really bad decision from the previous Board of County Commissioners. It's all been documented. You can go back and you can read all that information. But no, I'm not going to use public money to help support, to really, in essence, to pay the Air Force bills.
It seems we forgot about that $3.4 million overpriced building. The current administration would rather support giving land intended for economic development owned by taxpayers to a conservation group favored by radical outside special interest groups. Simply put, taxpayers should be able to decide how we use and support Indian Head Tech Park. And we should collaborate with privately owned airport to allow expansion. I want to read something again to you. Nearly 1,500 and their personal annual income total almost $80 million, according to the latest report from the Maryland Aviation Administration. The airport was generating $109 million business revenue and $8.4 million in state and local taxes. Flight operations are back on an average of 150 per day, and commercial passenger service has returned. Anybody know where that's at? 2003, 98% of the people in Hagerstown were against the airport. Look how they're doing. You continue down this track, you'll get the same result.
We have a lot of pressure on our property taxes. In general, because of that, I'm not absolutely opposed to public-private partnerships when they make sense. It was interesting in reading the Mattawoman Watershed Society's opposition to the tech park. They said that site could be a good opportunity for an outdoor learning environment experience for kids, right? This site of land is near Matthew Henson, J.C. Parks. It's not far from Lackey High School. There's an opportunity there. I like to explore. It could be a hybrid type of bioscience, biotech, environmental science facility. But there is a lot of pressure on our taxes. I mean, I went to the FY19 budget hearing last night, and agencies are asking the county for $17 million more than what revenue support, right? So that means if we keep our revenues, at that level, at current rates, Board of Education won't get $7.5 million of its request for FY19. The Sheriff's Office won't get about $3.5 million or so of its request for FY19. So we're sort of starving the system. We need economic development if we want to pay for the services that we want, that our Sheriff's Office and our schools says they want. Thank you.
Again, my name is still Diota, and I'm still running for District 4 Commissioner. But I think that when we are investing our money, it needs to be smart. If we have an opportunity to ask the taxpayers to assist, and we are going to see great dividends in the future, then we should do that. If not, then we should not even ask. We have 2 tech parks that have not come to fruition here in Charles County, okay? We have one in Waldorf that is just some grass, and now we have Indian Head, and so my thing is that we need to make smart business decisions. We need to ask our citizens for money for things that are going to produce results. Thank you.
Investment in Maryland Airport as well as the Indian Head Tech.
Hello?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Investment in the Indian Head Tech Park and Maryland Airport were high priorities to me during my 2 terms as Commissioner representing District 3. I still believe that the idea of these programs created opportunities for economic development to increase our overall commercial tax base. I just think, and it kind of aligns itself with the continual discussion, the pro-growth, anti-growth discussion that's always limited our community to move forward. We've represented 2 projects, 2 public-private projects, which would have given an opportunity for our residents to see an increase in actual commercial taxes, which would provide more resources for education and public safety. The reality was the Indian Head Tech Park in particular went down as a result of a downturn in the overall economy. A lot of that work was done during the course of the national recession. But if anybody recalls, at that time, the county had actually received a commitment through a memorandum of understanding through an international company that was willing to Thank you very much.
Just to finish up with what Commissioner Collins was saying, Barton Baker was planning on moving into the tech park. There were responsibilities that the county was supposed to fulfill to complete all the terms of that public-private partnership. That's water and sewer. They never did it. They backed out, and the economy turned down. Public-private partnerships will work, especially in areas where revitalization is needed. Public-private partnerships in Indian Head today are bringing the College of Southern Maryland to Indian Head. Public-private partnerships today are bringing facilities outside the gate now into the town of Indian Head. Indian Head now has fiber running down through all the way to the base as a result of the hard work of a lot of people at all levels of state. Public-private partnerships will help drive redevelopment. I am proud of the work that the Chamber has done with the Military Alliance Council, working with the town of Indian Head and our state delegation to get these things done. Thank you.
I'd like to add to that, there is broadband from General Small with Indian Head. We paid for it. $97,000 short. Your county paid $67,000 of that. We brought that to Indian Head. We also have a public partnership with Lennar Homes. Reduced housing by 3,000 or so. They're also putting money in a developer fund to help support schools, new school growth. We also renegotiated a public-private partnership to bring new ownership to the Blue Crabs. As you know, Mr. Kirk left, so we have a new owner there. I'm also going to tell you that on the NAMO that was brought up earlier, I just signed off on $60,000 to help leverage a $600,000 grant so that they could grow in that space. Yes, they're in Waldorf. They're in Waldorf because there wasn't a space ready for them in Indian Head. We just signed off $10,000 to help get that ready space ready for them in Indian Head. So we are doing public-private partnerships all along. And as far as the airport's concerned, I've been in office for 3.5 years. I have asked since the 2nd or 3rd month that I've been in office, let me see a business plan. Come to us with a business plan. They have yet to ever bring a business plan to the county commissioners. Thank you.
To just kind of sum up, say, maybe rebut something they've heard that they'd like to address, and then we'll get to audience questions. So why don't we start again with Commissioner Collins and move on down the line. Just 30 seconds.
Try to get this real quick. We say that we're champions for the people, yet the impact of our policy decisions tell an entirely different story. Recent decisions by the present board have resulted in continued income inequality, the closing of Safeway, which is moving Bryant Road closer to becoming a food desert, lack of housing affordability, and a reduction in public transportation options for our citizens. We must stop the merry-go-round approach to governing that makes our citizens pawns in a continual chess game, pitting no growth versus limited growth. Let us agree to move forward with an agenda that puts the needs of our citizens at the top of the list of our priorities. Thank you.
My name is Brian Clausen. I'm a Democrat running for Commissioner President here in Charles County. I am a lifelong resident who will remember that I always work for the betterment of the residents of Charles County. I am a veteran. I am your neighbor. I am a dad. I'm a husband. And I'm a business owner. I will fight every day to improve the quality of life in Charles County, protect our environment, and leave a better Charles County for our children. Thank you.
Very briefly, sitting up here tonight, and it's not the first time, there is so much misinformation and stuff that is just not accurate. Please educate yourself. Please do that. Take the time to do that. We do the best we can, and we get it out on the website in many ways. And that's what this is for tonight. We heard that, yes, the budget requests were over $17 million. You know what? We could do that. But we would have to raise your tax rate 7%. We're not doing that to you. So please take the time to understand all of the issues, and then I think you'll vote accordingly. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Dr. Cook, District 1, physician, business owner, dad. Scientific community takes life on Earth very, very seriously. According to a 2015 Lancet study, 1 in 6 people in the world die of pollution-related illnesses at a cost of $4.6 trillion. Think about that, please. So therefore, one of the biggest reasons I'm running is I care deeply for people and the natural world we live in. It's not about you or me, it's about the world we're going to leave behind. If we don't stop the destruction of nature, nothing else will matter. Jobs won't matter, our economies won't matter, our freedoms won't matter, ethics won't matter, nothing will really matter.
Leah Messick, District 1. I've been engaged in the county my entire life. I am ready to take on the task of bringing Charles County into the future. I'm a passionate and progressive candidate. I'm a strong supporter of the 2016 comp plan, including the Watershed Conservation District. If elected, I would work towards the goals of the comp plan. I would also work to support our teachers and our sheriff's department and work closely with our nonprofits. I have the experience, professional skills, an open mind, and a willingness to listen to all voices. And I will bring my passion to the Board of County Commissioners.
Matt Wills, candidate for Charles County Commissioner in District 1. And I'm running to improve the quality of life of all of our citizens and to improve the economic viability of this county. Our basic problem is our failure to reach a consensus about anything. And that has stymied us in many ways. We must stop pitting one group against another. Everything cannot be defined in terms of environment versus development. What we should define things is in terms of what's best for the people overall, Charles County.
I'm just going to do a little bit something different since everybody knows my name. I'm going to ask you to be visible. Because people are saying they are Democrats when they're not. There are some Democrats come to the Democratic Party saying they're Democrats, but they're turncoats. They turn on the Democrats that was in office. So I'm going to ask you to be visible when you go to the polls to vote and know who you're voting for. Thank you.
Jason Henry, candidate for District 2 Commissioner. I'm a lifelong Democrat and a lifelong resident in District 2. I'm a father of 2 sons, and I'm a community advocate. I am running because of the disenfranchisement that I have seen in District 2, and I'm running to change that. And I ask for your support, Jason Henry, Commissioner for District 2. Thank you.
Charles McClain, Commissioner for District 2. I'm going to keep it simple. I'm running because I think the county's at a crossroads. I think we need transparency, we need more integrity in government, and we need to come up with an overall plan and strategy to get us to to bring us to a point where it's going to be more economically viable. We're really at a crossroads. And I'm asking for your vote because I am, unlike most of the folks on the panel, I'm not a native of this county. But I'm someone who's been around for a long time and will work to get results.
John Ashburn, District 3 candidate. I thought about this, how to say everything I needed to say in 30 seconds, and I really can't. But what I can tell you is, if you come to me with honesty and truth, I will serve you the best way that I possibly can. But I cannot serve you if you're not honest with me and you're not truthful. And honestly and truthfully, the poor and the working class people of this county are being underserved for the rich people and the special interests. Please, vote for me and get the poor and the working class people help. Thank you.
As your county commissioner, I'm running for re-election to make sure that we do, you hear the term a lot, protect the quality of life. I know you can look at my voting record. I know you can look to see what I've done in almost 4 years. I'm out in the public, I go to events, I hold town hall meetings. I ask for you to continue to come out, ask your questions. Let's have discussions. Come up with plans. I'm so proud of the Waldorf Senior and Recreation Center that's coming. It's things like that, using taxpayers' money for the residents.
It takes a special type of person to be a public servant versus a politician. It takes a special type of person to hear and listen. It takes a special type of person to shake your hand, greet you, even when you disagree, and still have a seat at the table. It takes a special type of person to hold oneself accountable, to be honest, to be transparent. Your current commissioner is not that special type of person. But I can assure you that I, Derek Terry, am that type of person. And I look for your vote. Thank you.
I spent a lot of time in the last years fighting a Dominion compressor station project with Brian. There's friends in that room that fought alongside with Charles County and Prince George's County. I also think WCD and the comprehensive plan needs significant changes. Those same friends probably disagree with me. I'm okay with being in that middle space, because I think we need collaborative decisions and solutions on the Board of Commissioners. Right? We need to be able to consume data and make a decision based on the best interests of those residents. Greg Waring, Commissioner, District 3.
Diota Sweat, Commissioner, District 4. Everything that I am fighting for is for our children and for our future. Remember, we have 600 plus children that are homeless in our school system currently. We are number 3 in homeless tents in Charles County. We have 24 counties and we're number 3. I want to be that person that's sitting at the table that will help to resolve these challenging issues that we face here in Charles County. Thank you very much.
How's everybody feeling?
Great.
Great. You guys got to be feeling great. Great. So it's 7:48. I have a bunch of questions already from the audience. We have this room till 9. Don't know if everybody wants to sit here through 9, but let's keep going for a while. I'm not sure